Hello everyone, Vincent here from HDTV Test here. I'm a TV reviewer and professional calibrator. This TV I have beside me is Sony's new XG95, also known as the Bravia X950G in the USA. Now, this is the 65-inch model. If you have been following some coverage from CES, you will probably be aware that the 55-inch and 65-inch models of the XG95 won't have XY angle technology, whereas the 75-inch and 85-inch versions will feature XY angle. One of the things that may be confusing to many subscribers and readers out there is where the XG95 falls within Sony's 2019 TV lineup. Is it a successor to the XF90? Does it replace the Sony ZF9? Now, I will get into it when I actually do the proper review, but suffice to say for now that this is positioned as a slight step up to the XF90, but I will get into it in more detail when I do the proper review. What I'm going to do in this video is to just show you the picture settings and explain what some of them do. As you can hopefully see from the camera, there is a brand new remote control with really minimalistic buttons, rounded corners, premium polish finish up front, and rougher around the back, just like some. The thing is, Sony has done away with the action menu button that was on the old remote. If you remember, on older Sony TVs, if you press the action menu button, it will actually summon a sort of quick menu from which you can access the picture menu in 3 clicks. But with the new remote control and with the new interface, what you need to do to access the picture settings is to press this gear or settings button here, and then it will summon up the quick menu from the bottom of the screen. And then you can just go into settings and then go into display and sound, go into picture, and it will contain all the more advanced picture settings for you to adjust. So I've actually lowered the brightness of this TV to 16. The default I think is around 35, but I've lowered it because otherwise the image will look blown out on camera because this is a fairly bright television. So I'll go into the advanced settings menu and explain to you what each of these do. As you can see, it is actually lightning fast. So if I talk fast enough, maybe I can get this video to under 10 minutes, which will be a record for me. Brightness actually determines the light output of the television. On other TVs, this is known as backlight. If you increase the brightness, it will just increase the backlight, making it brighter. If you lower it, it will reduce the backlight, making it darker. So I'll set it to 16, which is how I've actually set the camera. Contrast affects the digital white level of the picture. So if you increase it, you will become brighter at the brighter end. And if you actually lower it too much, you will reduce the dynamic range of the image. I'll reset it to 90, which is the default. And gamma is a slightly tricky subject to explain, but it determines how the input signal should be translated to the output on screen. Lower gamma would darken the picture but give you a bit more depth, whereas a brighter gamma would brighten the picture but probably look a bit more washed out. If we go back to black level, this allows you to adjust the video black level of the television. If you actually raise it too high, you will just wash out the image, but if you actually set it too low, then you'll be crushing shadow detail. Oh right, I didn't realize that an indicator actually turns up, if you actually go back to the central or default level. I never realized that. I don't know whether this was present on previous Sony televisions. Black adjust is basically just an automatic adjustment of near black gamma. Advanced contrast enhancer, this is a dynamic contrast system to probably produce an S-curve gamma so that the brights become brighter and the darks become darker, but you may lose some shadow or highlight detail in between. Auto local dimming, this is a full array local dimming LED LCD television, and depending on the level to which you set this control, it will determine how aggressive the local dimming is. whether you want inkier blacks or you want to reduce the appearance of blooming or haloing artifacts. Extended dynamic range, this will be very useful when it comes to HDR image to allow this TV to reach the highest peak brightness that it is capable of. If we go into the next submenu, which is color, this color control is a global control that affects the saturation and luminance of all the colors. I don't really advise that you use it lightly, because if you adjust it too much, it will just make everything look oversaturated. If you reduce it too much, then it will make everything look undersaturated. Hue just globally adjusts the tint of all the colors. Color temperature, this is just another word for a grayscale or white balance preset, so you can go from neutral to warm, which has more of a red or yellow tint, expert 1, expert 2, and if you go the other way, a cooler color temperature usually means it's a bluer color temperature. So advanced color temperature, this is basically a 2-point white balance control, where R gain stands for red gain, G gain green gain, B gain stands for blue gain, red bias, green bias, and blue bias. The gain controls affect the brighter portion of the image, the bias controls affect the darker portion of the image. And using these controls, you can adjust the white balance or grayscale of the TV set so that it can hit the D65 white point, which is the standard for the film and broadcast industry. In addition, you will have access to 10-point controls, so you can adjust at each 10% video stimulus interval by adjusting the red offset, green offset, and blue offset. And I believe that if you actually use the Kalman for Bravia app in conjunction with this television, this multi-point control can be expanded to 20-point. But again, this is still fresh out of the box. I haven't actually tested this television yet, so I will be able to look it up and test it when I actually review this television. And if we go back to color, and live color basically just expand the color gamut in terms of the saturation and intensity. Per color adjustment, I think since probably last year, Sony has started adding a color management system, 3 axis, where you can adjust the 3 primary colors of red, green, and blue, and the 3 secondary colors of cyan, magenta, and yellow. And under each color, there are 3 further parameters for you to adjust, namely hue, saturation, and lightness or luminance. And under the normal nomenclature of color management system, we call this a HSL-based color management system. Clarity deals with edge enhancement stuff, sharpness, relative creation, resolution. These will add edge enhancement, and noise reduction, random noise reduction, and digital noise reduction. Presumably this deals with impact noise reduction, which is probably more of a spatial filter. Smooth gradation is a super bit mapping technology that seeks to reduce the posterization and bending artifacts in, let's say, 8-bit content, especially in sky where there's a smooth transition from a lighter shade to a darker shade. The smooth gradation can help reduce the stair-stepped manner in which they can appear. Motion, you can adjust motion flow, which is Sony's motion compensated frame interpolation technology. There are 3 settings here. You can turn it off totally, or you can set it to auto, which means that the TV will do its own thing, and usually auto will introduce a bit too much soap opera effect or SOE for my liking. But custom allows you to adjust the amount of motion interpolation, which is governed by smoothness, and also the amount of black frame insertion or black zonal insertion, which is governed by clearness. And I believe that the XG95 will have the X motion clarity black zonal insertion technology as well. Film mode deals with film mode deinterlacing. I'll have to test this thoroughly when I review this television to see whether it introduces juddering or it actually causes the deinterlacing artifacts to disappear. And you can see that I'm still not really familiar with the new interface because I keep pressing the wrong button. So if I go to display and sound, screen, and advanced settings, motion, yes, with power motion, and under video options, you can select the HDR mode, auto is clearly the best to go for, because what the TV will do is to either stay in SDR mode or kick into HDR mode depending on the incoming signal. HDMI video range is grayed out here. Color space, you can select different color space, whether it is for high definition content BT709 or a DCI color space, or Adobe RGB for photos, or BT2020 for UHD content. But again, unless you have a compelling reason to pick one, then auto is still the best option, because the TV will adjust its color gamut based on the info frame of the video signal. And that concludes our walkthrough of the picture settings. I don't think there's any change compared with, let's say, the ZF9, but I will be reviewing this TV in depth over the next couple of weeks. So if you have any questions about this TV or anything in particular that you want us to test, feel free to leave some comment in the YouTube section below. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.